The message arrived as a fracture in the ether, a voice cut through the static of the Malacca Strait, not a plea, but a final report from the edge of human comprehension. The transmission was broken, frantic, but the core was unmistakable: death. After a garbled series of indecipherable characters, 2 words echoed: "I die." Then, silence. The radio operator who received it must have felt a chill, not just from the message, but from its finality. This was not a request for rescue, it was a declaration of the end. Certainty in the face of oblivion is rare and unsettling. The message itself became an artifact, a fossil of pure terror. We can analyze the words, but never access the emotion behind them. The message is a closed door. On one side, our world of logic. On the other, the silent tableau of the Orang Medan. The transmission is the only key, and it is broken. What event could precipitate such a message? Human history is filled with maritime disasters. Ships sink, fires break out, pirates attack. But these have logic, a narrative we can follow. The Orang Medan's final message defies this structure. It presents not a sequence, but a horrifying result. The crew is gone. The speaker is dying. The story begins where all others end. This inversion is what makes the event so disturbing. It is a puzzle that starts with the solution, and the solution is simply an abyss. The message lingers, a riddle with no answer. It is a testament to a moment when the ordinary world was shattered. The only certainty something unimaginable happened on that ship. And all that remains is the echo of those final words. Before the silence, there was the sea. The Orang Medan was a Dutch freighter, ordinary, functional, a cog in global trade. It carried a crew of sailors, engineers, officers, men who understood the rhythms of the sea. Their lives aboard were routine, a mixture of vigilance and monotony. The ship was their workplace, their temporary home, a self-contained world adrift. Its final voyage was mundane, sailing through the busy Strait of Malacca. Surrounded by other vessels, it was not alone. This proximity to civilization makes its fate extraordinary. The Orang Medan was not a cursed vessel or a ghost ship of legend. It was a working freighter, a piece of modern technology. Its story is not one of ancient omens but of a sudden, inexplicable fracture in the fabric of the 20th century. The terror lies in the collision of the mundane with the incomprehensible. The ordinary became the unthinkable. The first signal was the only signal. Multiple listening posts received the SOS, but what followed was chaos. The Morse code was frantic, the operator struggling to form coherent thoughts. The message: all officers including captain are dead, lying in chart room and on the bridge. Possibly whole crew dead. No mention of fire, sinking, or attack, just a massacre with no visible cause. The timeline was compressed, the report, then garbled code, then "I die." Whatever happened, it was swift and total. The transmission is the fracture point. Before it, a routine journey. After, a legend. The call for help became a final, cryptic testament, raising more questions than answers. The American merchant ship Silver Star answered the call. Its captain diverted course, expecting a rescue, not a mystery. Upon sighting the Orang Medan, the first thing they noticed was silence. The ship was adrift, undamaged, floating calmly. No fire, no collision. The Silver Star hailed the ship, but there was no response. The silence was absolute. A boarding party approached, unease growing as they neared the silent vessel. The deck was empty, everything in order, but the human element was gone. The ship was a perfectly preserved stage, but the actors had vanished or fallen. The first horror, the ship's dog, dead, frozen, in a posture of terror, not the result of poison or disease, but of pure fear. This was a prelude, a small disturbing detail hinting at the greater horror inside. The Silver Star's crew stepped from the world of the living onto a vessel of the dead. The ordinary had become a nightmare. The silence was not just absence, it was a warning. Something unimaginable had happened here. Inside, the Orang Medan was a gallery of frozen terror. Officers were found at their posts, dead, bodies contorted in fear, the captain on the bridge, the navigator at his charts, the radio operator at his key. No one had collapsed or fled, all were locked in their final moments. Throughout the ship, the same scene bodies, rigid, unmarked, yet agonized, no wounds, no struggle, just uniform, inexplicable death. The psychological discomfort was overwhelming. What did they see before they died? The absence of a physical cause forces us to contemplate the impossible. The stillness was that of a nightmare, captured in time. The crew faced something that erased them without a trace. This was not a failure of man or machine. It was an invasion. The horror is not just in the deaths, but in the act of bearing witness to the impossible. The Orang Medan became a tomb of unanswered terror. Theories about the Orang Medan are attempts to name the unnameable. The mundane, hazardous cargo, potassium cyanide, nitroglycerin, leaking releasing toxic gas. This could explain rapid deaths but not the terror or the unnatural cold reported in the hold. Another theory, infrasound, low-frequency waves causing panic and cardiac arrest. It's scientific but incomplete. It doesn't explain the cold or the explosion. Stranger still, some say the bodies showed no decomposition, as if time itself had frozen. This detail, if true, pushes the event into the paranormal. Each theory reflects our need for narrative to fill the silence with speculation. Pirates are dismissed. Nothing was stolen. Poison gas doesn't explain the fear. Infrasound feels clinical. The truth is, we do not know. The Orang Medan is a mirror, reflecting our fear of the unknown. The final act was as abrupt as its silence. The Silver Star's crew tried to tow the Orang Medan to port, but as the line was secured, smoke billowed from the holds. An explosion tore through the vessel, flames consuming it with unnatural speed. The Silver Star retreated as the Orang Medan slipped beneath the waves, taking its secrets with it. The evidence was erased. All that remained was the story. The destruction denied closure. No autopsy, no investigation, no answers. The explosion felt less like an accident, more like a deliberate act of concealment. The ship was gone, but the mystery remained. Some say the event was a fabrication, a sea story. But if it's not true, what fear gave birth to such a tale? The real terror, not what happened, but what was seen in those final moments. An end beyond understanding.